Hello, this is James Jopling with Shoppa's John Deere, and these are the general components for the 2022 Tech Challenge. Okay, our next component is the receiver dryer. These are used in air conditioning systems, whether it be automotive, household, what have you. All right, the first question, the receiver dryer is only removing moisture from the entire AC system. That's not its only purpose. It actually does have, it will act as a filter. It's going to collect any debris, what have you. And also it will retain a small amount of refrigerant and refrigerant oil. Next is, if desiccant filter is saturated, this will not influence AC performance. That's false. If this is totally saturated, then you can cause restriction. Is one of the issues of which it will cause, and also debris. But no, that's false. Next is the receiver dryer will also collect debris from the compressor. That's true. So if your compressor is failing, and this is a filter, so to speak, just downline from the AC compressor. So it will collect any debris, a lot of debris from the compressor. Okay, next is the receiver dryer is always located before the evaporator. That's true. And the last is the receiver dryer is also a refrigerant storage unit, such as an accumulator, to supply the system with a slight reserve of refrigerant when demand is necessary. That also is true. That is all for the receiver dryer. Okay, our next component's just basic ball bearing, radial ball bearing. Okay, the first question, radial ball bearing installation to a shaft alone must be pressed from the inner race. That's true. So if your shaft is here, you're going to press on the inner race. If you press on the outer race, you will damage the bearing. Next is a radial ball bearing uses conical rollers. That's incorrect. Those are just balls, just round balls. Next, Brinelling is a condition caused due to incorrect installation which causes small indentations in the inner and outer races which cause premature failure. That's true if you install it, say, on a shaft and you compress it on the outside. On the races, the inner race and outer race, it's going to put little dents in each of them, and that will cause it to fail prematurely. The next is radial ball bearings do not need to be preloaded. That's true. You do not preload a radial ball bearing. Preloading meaning that it's on the shaft, so you're going to put force on this race. You do not preload a radial ball bearing. And the last, a radial ball bearing must be cleaned and blown using high pressure, spinning it as fast as possible to ensure all debris is cleaned out. Now, you can actually damage the ball bearing by spinning it fast, and also it can actually come apart and injure whomever is trying that. And that is all for a radial ball bearing. Our next component is a separator plate. These are commonly used in transmissions and power shift automatic transmissions. You'll have multiple of these and also friction discs that go in between them. But the first question, the separator plate is out of specification, must be replaced. Okay, if we measure it with a micrometer, it is within specification. So that is false. That statement's false. Next statement, after gauging, plate warpage isn't within specification. Okay, I've already got the feeler gauge. We go with our straight edge. It is within specification, so that also is false. This separator disc displays signs of excess slippage. There's no burning. You'll see burn spots if it slips. And this looks fine. Visually, if one notes only small scratches on facings, separator plate can be reused without measuring thickness or warpage. That's false. You've got to do just exactly what we have done a few moments ago with the micrometer and the straight edge. And the last is this type of separator disc is used in all clutch applications. That's false. In some of the dry clutches, you're going to have a different type of separator plate. And that's all that we have for that. Okay, our next component is a taper roller bearing. And these are utilized in all industries, even on your automobiles and in your four-wheelers, for example. But the first statement, the outer race displays loss of lubrication. It actually is in really good shape. I don't know if I would reuse it, but it is displaying no signs of loss of lubrication, so that's false. The next statement, a spherical ball bearing can't withstand greater loads than a taper roller bearing. That's true. A taper roller bearing is designed to withstand a greater force, a greater load when you have it as such, a force being applied to it, so it can withstand greater loads. Next statement, if preload is set too tight, it won't cause premature bearing failure. Preload is when you have the outer race pushed within a housing and then you're actually pushing this and putting shims or something such against it to increase the amount of force. If you increase the amount of force too great a force, you will have a bearing failure. Next, a taper roller can only be lubricated with grease. That's inaccurate. Many cases, these are oil lubricated. Not only grease, but oil. And the last, a taper roller bearing must always be positively preloaded. No, it doesn't have to be positively preloaded, so that is false. That is all for this particular component.